Hi guys. Like I said yesterday, I'm going to go ahead and read to you my story of EDS. I'm gonna read it out how I've written it in my document, my personal story of my life thing. So it's going to sound like I'm reading a book, but, so anyways, I guess, here goes. I might leave a couple little parts out just because they're more personal. I'm talking about like other people and stuff too in here, so I don't know if they want it. Sorry, I'm so exhausted. I'm hurting so much, and I'm so tired. My fibromyalgia has been kicking my butt. It's been kicking my butt. Ugh. Anyways, here goes. Hopefully this doesn't take a super long time. But anyways, like I do with all my live videos, I post them to the page afterwards as well, so you can listen to this later. My story of EDS. EDS. I'm literally sitting here propping up my left arm on the desk as I write because my shoulder is being pulled by gravity and it's pinching and stabbing, probably out of socket. Sigh. My life. The way EDS affects my life, typing all of this is making my hands very sore. Note to self, don't forget to wear your wraps. In this case, I didn't write down which wraps and braces I would be using, but in this case, with typing, I would most likely be wearing my compression gloves and possibly my custom hand wraps to keep my thumbs in socket, because they're basically just dislocated for life. My pinky hurts right now because I bent it too far backwards last night helping my girls go through bins and boxes of clothes and shoes. My hip hurts right now from moving back and forth on this chair, trying to stay comfortable. Around the time I turned 30, I started seeing doctors for problems that were popping up more and more. Some of these things I remembered happening when I was younger as well. I would have moments of memories when things that had happened when I was a child suddenly made sense, when I heard about a genetic problem called Ehlers Danlos. This syndrome happens when you're born. You hear me? You're born with it. Hence being genetic. Hence the whole reason I can remember times throughout my childhood where things happened that I didn't know were abnormal. Until now. Hi, I'm Cammie, and I was born with Ehlers Danlos Syndrome, hypermobility type, HEDS, previously known as EDS type 3. When my body was created in the womb, one of the parts of my makeup was created faulty. It's called collagen. It's like the glue in your body that keeps everything together. It's our connective tissue, and mine wasn't built right. This created part of my anxiety and depression. I have generalized anxiety disorder and major depressive disorder that I see a psychologist for and take medication. And also a different kind of anxiety because my body creates extra adrenaline. This can't really be helped by medication or counseling because it's not mental. This created my cognitive function problems in school and work that I didn't know were cognitive function problems until recently. Now they make sense. Not being able to keep up at jobs, not knowing that I'm messing up data entry, not knowing why I could study a lot but not get good grades. It's almost impossible for me to change from one thing to another without having at least a little breakdown. Yes, including tears and anxiety. My brain can't multitask like a neurotypical person can. My neural pathways don't talk to each other correctly. This creates communication problems. This makes relationships even harder. If I'm thinking something and or having a conversation with someone, I can't always say what I want to. I'll have it all planned in my mind, but when it comes to speaking it, there's a disconnect. And then I start getting frustrated and it makes it worse. It's so hard for me to actually say what I want to or need to. Enter the search of later diagnosis of autism. This is one reason I prefer to type, because physically talking to someone takes so much out of me. It's hard to do. Finding out what brain fog is, days where I can't think at all, not knowing what I'm supposed to be doing, just walking around the house in circles, shrugging my shoulders. This creates problems with my proprioception. I would misjudge the same branch on the same tree constantly and always fall from the same spot right onto my back. But I kept climbing. I'm not aware of where my body actually is when I think it's somewhere else. For example, I think my foot is far enough away from the door not to get hit, when in reality, boom, ouch. Probably going to leave a gash in the skin. I would fall off my bike, fall when rollerblading, knock into doorways, bookshelves, fall downstairs, trip over my own feet. I just broke my baby toe last summer running into the corner of the wall. Not fun. This is why I have sensitive skin. I have super baby soft skin. It's a lovely thing. Until you don't know how dry you are, so that when you finally lotion, it burns so bad. And parts of my face get dried out so bad I get scab areas that look like bad breakouts, mostly on my nose and ears. And if I bump into something too hard, I get scrapes and bruises easily. Because this also affects how resilient my inner organs are. Bruises, I get them everywhere. Most of the time they are small. Sometimes I don't even know how they occur. Problems with digestion, heart palpitations, abnormal sinus heart rhythm, having dysphagia, hard to swallow and sometimes food gets stuck in my chest, even soup. GERD and acid reflux. Recently I had a GI scope and found ulcers in my stomach. Went back later, the ulcers were gone, but then I had polyps and a hiatal hernia. Joy. Having problems with multiple foods. Finding out what I'm sensitive to and how I can adjust my diet to make my body feel better and what triggers what. If I want to feel my best, I eat no acidic foods, no sugar, no dairy, no fatty meats, nothing with gluten in it, no alcohol, and no hard beans. Acidic foods make my bladder burn, painful bladder syndrome, also known as interstitial cystitis, IC. So I even have to only drink dark coffee if I want to drink coffee, and only have dark chocolate if I want something sweet. This is why I get dizzy when I stand up. It causes a problem with my autonomic system. That is the part of your body that communicates using the nervous system to tell my blood to flow to follow me up when I stand. It doesn't get there on time, so I just get dizzy, and I've passed out from this 4 to 5 times. Once I was in high school, once I was in college, once was when I tried to give blood for the first time, once when I got shots for a migraine. It was too close to the vagus nerve, vasovagal syncope. This is called dysautonomia. The kind of dysautonomia I have is, one is called POTS and vasovagal syncope, also known as neurocardiogenic syncope, because it's a nerve blood flow disorder that causes fainting. Because my blood flow doesn't keep up with my body, I have problems regulating my body's temperature. I'm a hoodie and sock girl all the way. My fingers and toes are almost always cold. I'm used to that. I can't go in a hot tub for any length of time. I'm super sensitive to heat on my skin. I hate summer. This is why I have to wear braces on my body. My joints are extra flexible, called hypermobile. Sometimes people will say you're double jointed. There's no such thing as being double jointed. It's being hypermobile, extra mobile. My elbows, my knees, my fingers all bend backwards. I have swan neck deformity in my hands. Swan neck. My thumb joints basically stay dislocated because they're so worn out. Lots of joint pain because of the extra flexibility. Basically feels like osteoarthritis, but without the actual breakdown of cartilage. My knees have chondromalacia patella, crunching under my kneecaps, which is slowly wearing out the cartilage. Mild narrowing and some osteoarthritis. I sublux, partial dislocation. My fingers, hips, shoulders. I sprain my wrists and ankles. I have back pain almost constantly. I have functional scoliosis. That means my PT can help me straighten my back out, but then it gets all funky again. My sacroiliac joint is unstable. I wear a special belt every day to help it from coming out of place. My neck is straight and partially reversed, causing headaches and muscle spasms because it's unstable, and crunching because of arthritis there too. My fingers lock up when I would play the flute or piano. I have bunions because my toes are super bendy. My big toe doesn't like to stay straight. So when I remember, I wear bunion correctors. I have Morton's neuroma, a pinched nerve in my right foot, so I only wear a couple brands of shoes as well, and custom orthotics ordered by my physical therapist. This is why I have nerve pain, because they get pinched and pulled all the time. Numbness in my fingers, radiating nerve pain through my skull. I had a CT scan, nothing shows sign of stroke. I do have 2 little discs that have minor mild bulges, and then I have 2 discs up here that are starting to slip out of place. Sometimes not being able to pick up a glass of water, unable to enjoy physical intimacy, sometimes because of the neurological after effect, or because of something that's causing me pain right then, shooting pain, or something isn't sitting right in a joint, making a nerve get jacked up. The lovely life of migraines, constipation, muscle spasms, and restless leg syndrome. I've never slept well even as a child. Gotta love insomnia, but I read a lot of books. This is why my hormones are off. I take a spray under my tongue to help even them out so I can have normal feelings. I actually have some libido now. I barely had any for years. I even took different supplements and tried counseling. Blood work is an awesome thing. I am able to find moments that I can be more spontaneously fun, and a lot of my pimples have subsided. Yes. This is why I can't go out in the yard and play soccer or chase after my kids without paying for it. We generally take a day trip somewhere that we have a membership to every couple months. This requires me to rest the day before, bring my cane and my wheelchair, because by the end I can barely walk without pain, joints wanting to fall apart, can't use the cane because it requires the strength from my shoulders and hands and they wear out, and then my energy is completely gone. I have to alternate. I have to adjust to a new life. I do as much as I can on a good day, but I have to remember if I don't listen to my body and overdo it, I'll be paying for it for days afterwards. And I have to adjust to not being able to work outside my home because I never know what the next day, the next hour, the next minute will bring. I was literally sitting on my husband's office playing on my phone until he could take a break, and my shoulder decided to ride out of the socket. Slid just a little bit out, nerve pain shooting down my arm, going from a chronic illness level 3, my everyday pain level, up to a 9 in a split second because my body can't hold itself together. I had to put my arm in a sling for the next 2 days because it hurt so bad, even after moving it back in place. I found a great PCP after 8 months of searching for the right kind of doctor. He is a doctor of osteopathy, so he can adjust me even when I need it, refer me to specialists, which now I have a great team that we've been building. I have a rheumatologist, a cardiologist, neurologist, gastroenterologist, urologist, and otolaryngologist. Able to refer me to physical therapy. I've been referred twice now for thoracic outlet syndrome, pelvic floor dysfunction, scapular dyskinesis, functional scoliosis, cervicalgia, SI dysfunction, and flat feet. There's no support in my ankles. They're too floppy. I will say, in all of this, God is good. He's placed amazing people around me to get me through this journey. My husband, my best friend, just the right doctors, a couple family members, support groups that I was led to. His faithfulness is so reassuring, giving me strength when I have nothing left to give of myself, learning to give myself grace, and learning to ask for help when I know I need to do it, when I know I need it. I'm not good at that. I've always been a DIY person. It's hard for me to accept this sometimes. Help. But accept it or not, this is the new me. I'm learning to be okay with her and learning to even like her at times. There's always a silver lining. Sometimes you just have to work harder to find it. Like being able to jump hurdles and do cheerleading really easy because I was flexible, having a broad range with my voice when I sing. I didn't start having more problems until after I had kids. That started me on a slow descent. I had lots of pain working retail because I was on my feet a lot. Only worked the front desk at a lawyer's office for 4 months. Was a circuit coach at Curves for 8 months, and I could not mentally get it, and I injured my sciatic nerve working out. Had a huge problem with my anxiety working at a fast-paced dentist office, and then finally got to work at the place I've wanted to since I was a kid, the Christian Family Center in Adrian. From then, I realized it would be my last job. I couldn't do it anymore. I volunteered there for 8 months, worked on staff for a year and a half, then I injured myself in an exercise class about a year ago. I started writing this a while ago, and it's been more rapidly downhill since then. I feel blessed to have done as much as I have. I've been able to travel the world doing mission trips 4 times. I was in cheerleading for 6 years, track for 4. They made me stop because I was ruining my knees. Was part of church worship from when I was a kid up until 2017. I have been able to bring this up to family members. I'm glad I know now why my body does what it does, because with this being genetic, I have to be careful with my daughters. My oldest daughter also has it. She is very hypermobile, just like I was at her age. I used to put my feet behind my head. She also has ADHD. She gets tired very easily. She sprains her ankles very easily. She needs insoles because her ankles roll in. I'm glad I know what to do to help her. She has some anxiety and social depression. She's gone through PT to strengthen her joints. She also has a rheumatologist and a urologist. She also has POTS syndrome. Thankfully, she was able to get some blood work done and an EKG last year, 2 years ago. My youngest daughter has constipation issues. She's on Miralax. She also has ADHD and mental health struggles. My middle child sprains herself easily and has major adjustment disorder and anxiety, and she is also autistic. So I'm grateful for a husband who is there through it all, willing to learn and willing to help. Interestingly, this is just the beginning of my journey as a zebra. I was finally diagnosed June 26, 2018, after lots of ruling out of other things. I don't have any immune disorders. I do have vitamin D deficiency and fibromyalgia, so I take 5,000 IU of vitamin D3 every day to help my energy. It's nice to not feel so sluggish. And because of my dad's side family history of heart problems, where the EDS is coming from, I'm very careful with my heart health and check my heart rate and EKG on my watch as often as I think of it. At this point, I'm getting used to being an advocate for myself, being braver than I used to be, and this does cause some anxiety, but I'm doing it, and starting to advocate for my children as well. I actually switched them from their pediatrician, we've been with them since the same one since they were born, to a new one because as they were getting older, the less he was being helpful. So I'm glad we have fresh eyes on the kids. Unfortunately, because there are stigmas around assistance devices, the cane, walker, wheelchair, most of the time I feel very self-conscious about using them, even though my kids are like, you gotta use what you gotta use, Mom, I'm proud of you, you're brave. I have to remember that. I'm brave for doing life like this. I'm brave for not letting it get me down as much as possible. My oldest daughter will actually give people the evil eyes if they're staring at me. And that is everything I have written on my story of EDS this far in my life. So I will work on the autism. I'm continuously working on this document, little by little, here and there when I have energy, time, whatever. It's a lifelong project. It's about my life. So, but yeah, that is my story of EDS. I hope you listen to it. If you have any questions, please post them underneath here. For one, if you message them to me, I feel like the information that I tell you in the message could also be helpful to other people. So if you put it as a comment on this video, then other people can get that information as well, because they might be thinking the same thing. So if you have questions about EDS, questions about how I deal with it, if there was something in here that sparked something for you, by all means, say something. But yeah, I'm glad you're watching this and listening to it. Bye.